My husband impregnated my half-sister, Reborn. I decided to let them have each other. My half-sister was pregnant with my husband Shinshouju's child. She came to me crying, begging me to let her live. My husband doted on her and took her as his second wife. Then she miscarried. Shinshouju said the child simply lacked good fortune. Later, I schemed and planned for him, helping him rise to become the prime minister, second only to the emperor himself. In return, he forced abortifacient herbs down my throat, and I bled to death. Jiang Yingyue, this is what you owe Qing'er and her child. I opened my eyes. I was back on the day my half-sister came sobbing to my door. Since they were so deeply in love, I would grant their wish. Shinshouju, let us divorce. Sharp pains tore through my lower abdomen. Blood gushed out in waves. My body was soaked in cold sweat as I lay helpless on the ground. My husband stood before me, looking down coldly, watching. Years of marriage. I had given everything to help his career, lifting him from a poor scholar to the highest minister in the land, second only to the emperor. I thought that now I was pregnant with his child, we could finally live happily ever after. Instead, he personally poured the most potent abortifacient down my throat. With my last breath, I asked him, why? He looked down indifferently. When Qing'er lost her child, she suffered just like this. You owe her this. I thought of my half-sister's delicate figure and gentle face. So Shinshouju had been hating me all along. He hated me for bringing Jiang Qingyue that bowl of pregnancy-stabilizing medicine. He hated me for causing the death of his beloved. I had explained to him countless times that I never meant to harm Jiang Qingyue, that the medicine I gave her really was to stabilize her pregnancy. He never believed a word. In the end, I died on the cold stone floor. After I died, Shinshouju had my body carelessly disposed of, thrown into a mass grave for wild dogs to tear apart. I died with my eyes wide open. News of my death spread. The eldest Miss Jiang miscarried and died, a double tragedy. My father just sighed heavily and acted as if he never had a daughter like me. The common people cheered, saying I deserved it, a cruel woman who had abused her half-sister. Only my young uncle, whom I had always looked down on, came from Jiangnan to seek justice for me. But Shinshouju used his power to suppress him, and my uncle returned with nothing, not even a glimpse of my body. Once the glorious eldest daughter of the Jiang family, I had fallen to this. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my half-sister came sobbing to my door, saying she was pregnant with Shinshouju's child. Before I could speak, Jiang Qingyue threw herself to her knees before me, her eyes swimming with tears. I only wanted to bring brother-in-law some hangover soup. I didn't expect him to mistake me for you. In my past life, when I heard these words, I had flown into a rage, slapping her across the face, just as Shinshouju returned from court. He had shoved me to the ground and carefully helped her up, shouting at me, "What are you doing to Qing'er?" Looking back now, the signs were all there. I was just blinded by love and refused to see them. In this life, I held back my impulse. I sat quietly in my seat, watching Jiang Qingyue's tearful performance. What's wrong, Qing'er? Even though I had done nothing, Shinshouju's reaction was the same. He rushed to help her up, then looked at me with accusing eyes. Jiang Qingyue pressed herself against his chest, crying prettily, "Xiouju, I'm carrying your child. Please, sister, let us live." Shinshouju's expression flickered, confusion, surprise, joy, but no guilt toward me. He gripped her hand excitedly. "Qing'er, is this true? Tomorrow I'll go propose to your father. I'll marry you as my wife." I stood aside, watching them. It was just like my past life. No matter how I tried to stop it, Shinshouju eventually married Jiang Qingyue as his second wife. I admit I hated Jiang Qingyue, but I never thought of harming her. After she entered the household, she often complained of abdominal pain. I had a physician prepare pregnancy-stabilizing medicine for her. Then one night, she began bleeding profusely. By the time Shinshouju and I arrived, the child was gone. Jiang Qingyue sobbed in his arms. "Husband, my child, sister, I know you hate me." But the child was innocent. I couldn't defend myself. Shinshouju punished me by forcing me to kneel in the ancestral hall. No one was allowed to visit me. In winter, snow piled thickly outside. The stone floor was ice cold. My knees went from stabbing pain to complete numbness. I knelt for 3 days and 3 nights, until I finally lost consciousness. Only then did Shinshouju relent, but I was left with a lifelong sensitivity to cold. After losing her child, Jiang Qingyue's health declined rapidly. Soon she wasted away and died. Everyone said I was jealous and cruel, that I had killed my half-sister. Xin Xiuzhu had long hated me. He only endured me because he needed my help for his career. How laughable. I had believed that with time, the past could be forgiven, and we could finally reconcile. Asterisk Xin Xiuzhu wants to be with Jiang Qingyue. Fine. I'll give him what he wants. Asterisk Xin Xiuzhu. Let's divorce. What nonsense are you talking about? Yingyue. He didn't even try to hide his impatience. He probably thought I was just throwing another tantrum. I couldn't be bothered to argue. I had a servant bring paper and brush and wrote out a divorce agreement on the spot. I tossed it at him. He stared at me. Are you threatening me? Jiang Yingyue. Is your heart so small you can't even accept your own sister? Jiang Qingyue looked at me with venom in her eyes, afraid I would ruin her chance to become Mrs. Shin. Sign it, and we'll have nothing more to do with each other. Seeing my cold expression, Xin Xiuzhu resentfully signed the paper and tossed it aside. Fine. As you wish. Don't regret it. I had a servant carefully put away the divorce papers. Please return my dowry as soon as possible, according to the list. He sneered. Don't worry. The Shin family won't steal a single copper from you. Take your things and get out. I wasn't angry. Asterisk if only he really wouldn't steal. Asterisk Xin Xiuzhu had always been like this, proud of his scholarly integrity, viewing wealth as worthless. In his eyes, I was just a domineering daughter who relied on money and power. Only a pure, virtuous woman like Jiang Qingyue could be his soulmate. He had no idea that without my wealth greasing the wheels of his official career, he would never have risen so high. I wondered what expression he would wear when he realized his position was built on gold. I left the Shin house and went straight back to the Jiang mansion. Before I could even settle in the main hall, a teacup flew at my head. I dodged, and the hot tea splashed on the floor. Unfilial wretch. Kneel. My father sat there, shouting at me. How dare you come back after divorcing Xin Xiuzhu? What will people think of Qing'er now? The Jiang family has no daughter as vile as you. Concubine Shui, Jiang Qingyue's mother, wiped her tears. My poor Qing'er has lost her virtue, and now she'll be gossiped about. How can you be so cruel? What is your intention? Everyone only cared about Jiang Qingyue. She had slept with Xin Xiuzhu out of wedlock. But with a few tears, she had twisted the truth. I was the jealous, cruel one who divorced her husband to ruin her reputation. Since childhood, Jiang Qingyue had received all the love and attention, not me, the legitimate daughter. My mother had nearly died giving birth to me. Though she survived, her health never recovered, and she passed away when I was 4. From then on, my father blamed me, calling me a curse who had killed my mother. A year after my mother's death, my father brought his pregnant mistress into the household as concubine Shui. Though Jiang Qingyue was a concubine's daughter, she lacked for nothing compared to me. She was so kind-hearted she would weep for an injured rabbit, yet she ignored my pleas, pretended to accidentally break my mother's spirit tablet, and, accidentally, set the ancestral hall on fire, nearly burning me alive. I only wanted to pay respects to the late madam. She wept pitifully. No one held her accountable. She was frugal and elegant, her daily attire like a lotus fresh from water. She spoke of the people's suffering and shunned luxury. In contrast, I became the sinful one, extravagant, ignorant of hardship. Foolishly, I tried to imitate her. My mother came from a merchant family in Jiangnan, but I even grew distant from my maternal uncle and grandparents. All I got in return was mockery for my clumsy imitation. In private, she would say with reddened eyes, I envy sister for having so many beautiful accessories. I have nothing. At my father's behest, the jewelry and silks my mother left me, one by one, moved into her courtyard. The common people praised her for her charity, calling her a reincarnated lotus fairy. They didn't know that when she gave alms outside, she was giving away my mother's inheritance, and only to gangs of ruffians. Once, a beggar child tried to tug at her sleeve to beg for food. Jiang Qingyue kicked him away. Filthy thing. You scared me. But the rumor that spread through the capital was that the eldest Miss Jiang had kicked a beggar child to death. From then on, I was known as the cruelest, most vicious woman in the capital. In those dark days, marrying Xin Xiuzhu was my only hope. How laughable in hindsight. I pushed away the memories and ignored my father's tirade. After the divorce, I will naturally move out. Father need not worry. I've only come to retrieve my mother's dowry. Concubine Shue's face stiffened. Her tears stopped. What do you mean, child? Are you trying to split the family just because of a few harsh words? I smiled coldly, watching her guilty expression. Without a doubt, she had squandered my mother's dowry over the years. Some of it had certainly gone into Jiang Qingyue's own dowry. It's only right that I take back what's mine. My mother left a detailed list. Within 3 days, I want every item on that list delivered to my new residence. Unfilial wretch. How dare you threaten us? My father trembled with rage and swept everything off the table. I didn't care if he had a fit. Father, the courthouse isn't far. You can refuse to return it, if you can bear the charge of stealing my late mother's inheritance. I turned and walked out, leaving the Jiang mansion in chaos. In my new residence, looking out at the clear sunlight, I felt light and refreshed for the first time in 2 lifetimes. The dowry returned from the Jiang and Shin families was a considerable fortune. I heard that concubine Shui fainted several times while going through the list. No matter how she calculated, there was always a shortfall. My father, who valued his reputation above all, cursed concubine Shui for her wastefulness, slapped her twice, and finally gritted his teeth and paid the difference from his own coffers. To cover up Jiang Qingyue's premarital pregnancy, she and Shin Xiuzhu quickly married. Without my mother's dowry and after the Jiang family had paid me a large sum, Jiang Qingyue's wedding was pitifully shabby. A small sedan, a few dowry chests, and no festive atmosphere. She was sent to the Shin household like a concubine. While settling old scores, I also wrote to my uncle in Jiangnan, apologizing for years of neglect and expressing my longing. In my past life, he was the only one who cared about me after I died. Things seemed to be improving. With my mother's wealth, I could live comfortably for a lifetime. But I knew this wasn't enough. Those people had yet to face justice. Even in my past life, I had suspected something about Jiang Qingyue's pregnancy and miscarriage. The day it supposedly happened, Shin Xiuzhu was drunk, barely conscious. How could he have fathered a child with her? Based on that small inconsistency, I had desperately believed in Shin Xiuzhu. On countless sleepless nights, tears soaking my pillow, I had lied to myself, remembering how he had once gotten a peace charm for me. Only later did I learn that the charm was just something Jiang Qingyue had rejected and he had passed on to me. As for Jiang Qingyue's miscarriage, everyone said I had poisoned her, but I knew there was more to it. Finally, the spies I placed in the Shin household's rear courtyard brought me explosive news. Jiang Qingyue had been meeting a strange man every few days. They were lovers, passionately entangled. Judging by his clothes, he was wealthy and noble. From his words and behavior, he didn't take Shin Xiuzhu seriously at all. The guards surrounding him called him Third Highness. I didn't know whether to admire Jiang Qingyue's ability to seduce a prince or to despise her shamelessness. No wonder Shin Xiuzhu, who had been too drunk to function, became a father a month later. No wonder no amount of pregnancy stabilizing medicine helped. Jiang Qingyue always complained of abdominal pain. No wonder she miscarried soon after Shin Xiuzhu left for official duties. The child was never his. Jiang Qingyue just wanted a fool to give her child a father and protect her reputation. After marrying Shin Xiuzhu, she continued her affairs. So of course the pregnancy was unstable. As I considered my next move, a servant announced that Consort Li was hosting a flower banquet at the palace and had invited me as the daughter of an official. Consort Li was the emperor's favored consort and the mother of the third prince. Her intention was clear. She wanted to win over the wealthy merchant families of Jiangnan, using my wealth to support the third prince in the succession struggle. Among the princes, the crown prince was sickly. Though he held the title, he didn't have the emperor's favor. The other princes were either too young or uninterested in the throne. Only the third prince was favored by the emperor and backed by Consort Li's powerful family. He was the most likely to succeed. In my past life, with my advice, Shin Xiuzhu had sided with the crown prince during the succession struggle. Most people didn't expect the crown prince, who seemed unlikely to live another 3 years, to miraculously recover and take the throne, purging the third prince's faction. The crown prince's illness had been a ruse to conceal his ambitions. Without my intervention in this life, Shin Xiuzhu quickly joined the third prince's camp. He was so loyal that he didn't even notice his wife was sleeping with his superior. I accepted Consort Li's invitation. It was time to deliver Shin Xiuzhu a grand gift. In my letters to my uncle, I had also asked him to watch for any factions trying to recruit the powerful families of Jiangnan. He had found traces of the crown prince. People in the capital looked down on merchants, considering them the lowest class. They didn't know that the wealth of Jiangnan could rival a nation's. And some merchant families had even begun raising private armies. In my past life, when the crown prince was sent to Jiangnan to oversee water conservancy projects, he recruited these wealthy families. Their wealth and private troops became a major asset in his rise to power. After ascending the throne, he didn't betray them, he granted them titles and offices, raised the status of merchants, and encouraged commerce. My uncle and I agreed that our family would pledge allegiance to the crown prince, becoming his trusted allies in Jiangnan. Meanwhile, I would stay in the capital, help him find opportunities to bring down the third prince. The crime of sleeping with a subject's wife wasn't enough to destroy the third prince, but it would shake people's trust. No one wanted a future emperor who was debauched and had no regard for others' marriages. Everything was ready. We only needed the right moment. At the banquet, Consort Li warmly welcomed me, seating me beside her. From my high position, I could see Shen Xiuzhu and Jiang Qingwei. He looked haggard. Without my financial support, his career was faltering. She was dressed in simple, plain clothes, her belly slightly swollen. Her eyes roamed the crowd, searching for her lover. Consort Li followed my gaze and frowned. Who is that? Dressed like she's attending a funeral. Consort Li was known for her sharp tongue. At her words, everyone's attention turned to Jiang Qingwei. She grew even paler and bowed her head in fear. I smiled behind my sleeve. Your Highness, please forgive her. That is my half-sister, Jiang Qingwei. She is now married to Minister Shen. If she is lacking in manners, I beg your pardon. Consort Li rolled her eyes. Daughters of concubines are so provincial. Enough. Stop bowing. You're giving me a headache. Most of the women present were legitimate daughters from noble families, and most had grievances with their half-siblings. Combined with the recent news of my divorce and Shen Xiuzhu's remarriage to Jiang Qingyue, the glances directed at her were full of meaning. During the banquet, I had my trusted maid watch the third prince and Jiang Qingyue. After several exchanged glances, she excused herself, saying she felt unwell. I deliberately stained my dress and asked Consort Li for permission to change. Following Jiang Qingyue, I hid behind a rockery and watched her and the third prince enter a room together. I sent a servant to tell Consort Li that I had lost a priceless hairpin while changing and asked her to come help me look. As I waited, Shen Xiuzhu appeared and called out to me, Yingyue, just when I needed him. I had been regretting that he wouldn't witness the show. And here he came. I know I was wrong. Can you give me another chance? He reached for my hand, but I stepped aside. Dark circles under his eyes spoke of sleepless nights. He almost looked sincere. After you left, I thought of you constantly. I couldn't sleep. No matter what, you will always be my wife. His words made me sick. Who had signed the divorce papers with such finality? Who was now pretending to be in love, hoping I would return and continue supporting his career? Shen Xiuzhu, you disgust me. Just then, Consort Li arrived. She was afraid of offending me, her honored guest. When I led her into the room, she found Jiang Qingyue and the third prince in bed together. Consort Li was so enraged she lost all composure. She rushed forward and slapped Jiang Qingyue, her sharp nail guard leaving a gash on her face. Bitch. Wretch. The third prince hurriedly dressed and knelt. Mother, please calm down. But Consort Li couldn't calm down. She slapped him too. Fool. How did I raise such a useless son? She knew he was fond of women, but she had dismissed it as natural male behavior. Now, at the critical moment of the succession struggle, he had been caught sleeping with a subject's wife. Seeing his mother's fury, the third prince shifted all blame to Jiang Qingyue. It was her. I only came here to sober up. She seduced me. It's all her fault. Jiang Qingyue, who had looked to the third prince for help, was frozen with terror. She looked at Shen Xiuzhu. His face was green. She crawled to him, grabbing his robe. Xiuzhu, let me explain. His face dark as thunder. He couldn't afford to offend the third prince or Consort Li. He followed the third prince's lead and slapped her to the ground. Slut. As she fell, Jiang Qingyue's abdomen cramped. She screamed in pain as blood flowed from between her legs. She was miscarrying. Though she was saved, the rumors spread through the capital. They said Minister Shen had even offered his wife to the third prince. They said Jiang Qingwei was pregnant. Was the child even Shin Xiuzhu's? When I visited Jiang Qingwei, she had become mentally unstable. Shin Xiuzhu had lost patience. She couldn't help his career and had made him a laughingstock. He yelled at her constantly. The public's perception of Jiang Qingwei had completely reversed. The kind, beautiful fairy had become a slut who slept with anyone. What are you doing here? Come to laugh at me. Come to make me miscarry. No one wanted her child to live. Its paternity was questionable. Consort Li hoped she would miscarry to avoid future trouble. The third prince had only seen her as a plaything. Now that their affair was exposed, he didn't want the child either. Shin Xiuzhu, of course, doubted it was his. Once the seed of doubt was planted, it would never go away. To avoid the abortion drugs she faced daily, Jiang Qingwei had barely eaten. She had become emaciated. I'm not here to make you miscarry. I sat by her bed and took her hand. Your child is special, sister. It's dragon seed, royal blood. If you can successfully give birth, your child will be a prince. No matter what others say, who can dispute royal blood? A mother's status rises with her son. You'll never want for anything. A mad gleam entered Jiang Qingyue's eyes. Sister, you're right. Strike first. No one will hurt me. No one will hurt my child. No one will take my fortune. After leaving, I told my servant to inform the crown prince to prepare. That night, my maid reported that Shin Xiuzhu had tried to force abortion drugs down Jiang Qingyue's throat. She stabbed him in the chest with a hairpin, nearly piercing his heart. Then she fled the Shin house and went straight to the imperial drum, beating it to demand justice. Because Shin Xiuzhu was an official, she was spared a beating and granted an audience with the emperor. Now the whole world would know. Your Majesty. Jiang Qingwei knelt in the hall, screaming hysterically. Shin Xiuzhu tried to kill the third prince's child, the dragon's seed. Before the emperor could speak, she poured out everything, her affair with the third prince, admitting the child wasn't Shin Xiuzhu's, ignoring his darkening face. Forgive her, Your Majesty, Shin Xiuzhu said, his face pale from blood loss. She's lost her mind. She speaks nonsense. But Jiang Qingwei had a backup. She pulled a jade pendant from her robe. The third prince gave me this. Your Majesty only needs to verify it. Items from the palace have unique marks and records. If they hadn't been intimate, how could she have such a pendant? The courtier's expressions varied. Shin Xiuzhu swayed, as if about to faint. The third prince's face was dark, his eyes murderous. The censors, encouraged by the crown prince, used the opportunity to present a memorial detailing the third prince's debauchery, every incident of him taking others' wives and daughters. Disappointed, the emperor ordered the third prince confined to his quarters. Jiang Qingwei was handed over to Consort Li. Soon, news spread that the crown prince's illness had miraculously healed. People called it divine favor. The tide of public opinion turned. The third prince's faction crumbled. Shin Xiuzhu and his like were arrested for forming a treasonous faction. The last time I saw Shin Xiuzhu was in the dungeon. He was covered in blood and filth, huddled in a corner of the cell. Gone was the elegant scholar. When he saw me, he crawled toward me. His legs had been broken. He clutched the bars, hope flickering in his clouded eyes. Ingwe, you came to save me. I stood aside, looking down at him, just as he had looked at me before I died. I came to tell you two things. First, Jiang Qingyue's child is gone, you got your wish. Second, your beloved has lost her mind. He only paused for a moment. Beloved, I never loved her. It was always you. Ingwe, I always saw her as a sister. It was all her fault. She committed adultery with the third prince. She deserved it. Ingwe, help me, please. I beg you. I watched his groveling, and a sense of absurdity rose in my heart. Shin Xiuzhu had never loved me. In my past life, he killed me for Jiang Qingwei, but he didn't love Jiang Qingwei either. Otherwise, he wouldn't now be kneeling before me, swearing he loved me and casting her aside. The only one he ever loved was himself. I stepped back, avoiding his reaching hand. The crown prince is merciful. He won't mistreat you. Enjoy your stay. I turned and walked away without looking back. After the crown prince ascended the throne, he purged the third prince's faction. My father was stripped of his position and exiled. When it came time to reward merit, the crown prince offered me a position as a female official. I declined. I had already agreed with my uncle to return to Jiangnan. Everything was settled. I had somewhere to go. As I walked out of the dungeon, sunlight fell on me, illuminating me. The darkness of the past was behind me. The road ahead was bright and clear. What do you think of this story? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your voice.